Well, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? So today we are tackling 12th Lord in the 10th house, and what happens when a planet that controls your 12th house is sitting in the 10th house. And as always, if you do not know where your 10th Lord is placed, where your 12th Lord is placed, all your planetary alignments, for that check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, including the new magazine based on destiny and career, which is also out. So 12th house, we're finally here towards the almost to the end, and that's what we're going to discuss, and obviously by this Saturday night I'm going to have my very first Q&A after a long time. So on that Q&A I will reveal the series that I'm going to be doing next, so might want to watch that because that's very, very important. It's a pretty amazing series. Okay, so what is 12th house? 12th house represents working behind the scenes, things isolated from the rest of the world, like hospitals, asylums, jails, monasteries, foreign places, foreign lands. 12th house is a house of bed pleasures. It's your subconscious mind. It's your dream world. It is a world related to spirituality. It is a world of imagination. So how you use your imagination is seen from the 12th house. And 12th house is also the house of losses and expenses. So what happens when this planet or the lord of that house goes into the 10th house? Well, what is 10th house? 10th house represents your father, your authorities that you work with, bosses, people in government. 10th house is your workspace, meaning the kind of work environment you have is seen from the 10th house. So what is happening here is that the 12th house energy is coming into the 10th house. And this shows that your work environment requires you to use your imagination a lot. Whether it's an artistic field, or a psychic field or spiritual field, but it requires you to tap into your subconscious mind and imagination. This shows that on behalf of your work, your colleagues, your bosses, authority, you kind of have a lot of expenses or losses. Perhaps due to one of your colleagues that you were working with, you decided to invest in a business. And because the 12th Lord wasn't in the best of his dignity, it brought you losses through your co-worker. This shows that you get opportunities from foreign lands to work. It's not just about you going to foreign lands. Foreign opportunities are coming to you. So this shows somebody in their own country working in a multinational company. Like you in India working for Microsoft. Microsoft is originally a company in US from Seattle, but you are working there because it has expanded its arm into your work territory. This shows that your work can require you to be more spiritual, to use your spiritual intuition. So you can be an astrologer, you can be a psychic with this kind of a thing. And especially this shows that you are forced. It's not something you want to work. You might be forced to work in isolation. Perhaps your work and the whole company requires you to be in isolated places. Perhaps you're in IT, yet you're not in the corporate world. You're out in the mountains installing those, cell towers. So you're away from work. Even though you're working, your work environment is requiring you to go to isolated places. And 12th house, which also represents kind of like addiction or being addicted to things, shows that one can be addicted to their work. Whatever they do, they might be artists, they might be lawyers, they might be politicians, yet they have this addiction to working. And this also shows that you may suffer great losses in your work if you do not look at your work spiritually. So if you're just doing these mundane jobs, working in a call center, working in a restaurant as a waiter, you may go from one job to the other, to the other, to the other, until you embrace the energy of the 12th house that is occupying your 10th house, which is either to use your imaginative power, you should use your intuitive power to work, or somebody who needs to work in isolated fields, might need to work in hospitals, jails, asylums, maybe become a nurse instead of becoming a waitress. Yet it shows that your work is either very spiritual or putting a lot of stress on you. And what this can also happen, as I was saying, the addiction part, you might be so stressed due to work that you may take up an addiction. Your work is so stressful as a lawyer. That means you take up drinking at night. You might take up drugs to get away from the stresses of the work. And you might find opportunities from work through your colleagues to find this escape of drugs or addiction. Yet mainly this shows that you simply get a lot of foreign opportunities to work, and your colleagues and your bosses might be from foreign lands. Perhaps you're working in India where you have people from Singapore, Australia, US coming and working with you. So a lot of foreign element into your workspace. Now, depending upon what planet is controlling this kind of a space will differentiate all these things. So let's discuss that. So let's say Sun controls the 12th house, goes into the 10th house, shows that your father's work required him to travel a lot. Your father's work required him to work with a lot of foreign people. Perhaps he worked for the government and traveled for the government here as your father or fatherly figure. Shows your personality, your self-esteem and confidence in this world quite developed when you traveling with your father. Perhaps developed with you going out there into the society and communicating with society about your imaginative thoughts. The more you communicated with people, the more you communicated with authorities, your bosses, your teachers, your self-esteem developed. So communication here becomes a key for your personality and your self-esteem. Yet mainly communication of either the other world, of perhaps things related to medicine, addiction, what's happening in jails. All of these things become part of this person's work environment. You're dealing with a lot of authorities, from foreign lands with this kind of a son. Yet the relationship with the father is great. Your passion for traveling was really influenced by your father with this kind of a position. Yet at the same time shows that your father must have suffered kind of loss of reputation through foreign people. So if your father ever had a loss of reputation or he wasn't respected well for a certain time, find out. See if it was some sort of a foreign element that may have done that. Hidden enemies. 12th house is hidden enemies. So hidden enemies can hinder your work. Hidden enemies can come and take your authorityship away with Sun or with any other planet. You have a lot of politics in work with this kind of 12th lord in the 10th house. So that's something you also want to look out for. There's a lot of hidden forces in your work that may dampen your ability to get a promotion, go higher up into the realm of executive positions. Let's say Moon controls your 12th house, Moon goes in the 10th house, shows you use your imagination a lot for work. You need to use your imagination a lot for work. Your work requires you to be very creative. Your work requires you to be very artistic. Whether it's you working behind the scenes as a designer, writer, actor, but the Moon really gives you fame when you use your imagination. And this also shows that somebody who gains fame in society by nourishing people, taking care of people, becoming this beacon of hope for other people, becoming this great mother for their society. And so their name is well respected with this kind of a Moon. Mother becomes a source of travel. Mother becomes a source of spiritual knowledge. Your mother was greatly respected in society for what she might have done behind the scenes. And your mother kind of gave you the mental stability to Deal with hidden enemies. So if there was politics at work, you were like balanced person. You were like, I'm not going to let this hinder my progress. I'm going to work hard and I'm going to progress. Let's say if Mercury controls your 12th house, Mercury goes under the 10th house. This shows that you are very communicative about foreign agenda in your work. You like to manage people. You like to supervise people who are of foreign origins. You like to supervise people who are kind of in hospitals or jails. And you like to communicate about spiritual things. Your imaginative thoughts makes you write things, makes you speak about things related to the 12th house in society. You gain fame here through your writing, through your spiritual communication, your ability to go out in foreign lands and be this journalist. So you get influenced by foreign news, and that may give you fame. And Mercury here shows that you may have siblings who might have been born in foreign lands. And due to your siblings working behind the scenes, you might have gotten some sort of a fame. Perhaps your siblings helped you, your friends helped you, and you becoming this great person, great CEO in your life. Let's say if Venus controls your 12th house, goes into the 10th house. Venus here shows somebody who wants to express themselves dynamically in society. They use their imagination for painting, art, culture, dance, cinema. Somebody who, when they go out in society, especially in their work, they want to dress up the best way possible. And they kind of want to take charge in their work life by being behind the scenes. They like to get fame by working behind the scenes. So they might be film directors here, fashion designers. They work with a lot of females, and here's the thing with this Venus, they could have affairs with women in their workplace, secret affairs, because the secrecy of the 12th house is coming into the 10th house. But at the same time, women at your work can get you in trouble. They can secretly conspire against you with this kind of a Venus. So people in entertainment business are always running after each other, always trying to get one another down, so that you can experience that with this kind of a Venus. Mars as a 12th lord goes under 10th house, shows your spiritual physical activities give you fame. You become the great yoga teacher, great martial arts teacher. You kind of work with foreign companies that have to do with technical things, whether it's engineering, mechanical things, weaponry. You're working for a weapon manufacturer in your country. But Mars here gives you strong willpower to fight your enemies. Mars here can either destroy you through male colleagues and your hidden enemies in your workspace, or you will expose your hidden enemies and you will beat them to the ground. Why? Because this is a very strong Upachya house for Mars. Mars here does very well. So even if the hidden enemies are there, this person has a strong willpower to fight any person who comes and hinders their work. So you might see a lot of detectives, a lot of secret agents, spies of the government working with this kind of a position. You may see, surgeons working. A person with this kind of a Mars can definitely become a surgeon, especially here if they have, conjunction of Jupiter or influence of Moon here. And let's say if Jupiter controls your 12th house, goes into the 10th house, Jupiter shows that you advise and counsel people in your work environment who are either sick in a hospital, mentally ill, need psychological help, or you are this great guide for people who want spiritual guidance. So you are this spiritual guru at work. Your work requires you to be a guru, a preacher, a pastor. Here Jupiter can show that you might be working in a finance in foreign countries, or you might be working for a foreign financial company. Perhaps you're working for Goldman Sachs in Mumbai. You're working for Chase, JP Morgan in Singapore, in your own home country. Because Jupiter is money, it's the kark of finance. Okay? Saturn controls your 12th house, goes into the 10th house, shows that your bosses, your colleagues limit how much you progress in life. Your hidden enemies can restrict how much you progress in your work professional life. Here Saturn shows very slow progress into the working world. Yet at one point, especially after their Saturn return, these people realize that they are built for social work. They're built to help people in jail, rehabilitate people. They're meant to do social work, you know, go out there, make social change, social reform, you know, and kind of help societies at large. This kind of a Saturn really shows that the work is filled with a lot of policies, restriction, a lot of rules and laws that kind of hinders your imaginative work to take place. So let's say if you're an imaginative artistic world because of your other planetary supports, this Saturn really makes you struggle and fight to really get that idea out there. But as you progress in your 30s, the same Saturn helps you realize your true potential, helps you realize what imagination is, what, you know, authority is, how to, you know, behave in the public. Right, in early years, you might actually be a person who might hinder other people's work with this kind of Saturn. You might become obstacle in your people's work life because Saturn matures slowly. And here Saturn, especially if it's your ascendant lord as well, can show your immaturity at work as a person, or it can show that at a very, very early age you had to work, you had to be this person to provide for your family. So it's always good or bad with Saturn, depending upon, you know, how it's situated. So guys, this is my analysis of 12th lord in the 10th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your planetary placements are, all my books, magazine, and all of my consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow with 12 and 11. Bye bye.